Elevator Gallery is a artist-run gallery in Hackney Wick, very close to the Olympic site. I can't really say that much about it because I'm not one of the curators, but we host numerous events, artistic events, as well as things like club nights and party nights, and things like this, and film nights as well. If you want to come to our next show, it's on the 16th, and it's called No Man's Land. It'd be quite good to see you along. Shall I start with introducing
Yeah, okay, yeah. Let's go for the heavy stuff.
Yeah, I don't want to make it too heavy. That's the thing. There's a thing about Jacques Derrida and his work where it's very, very difficult to introduce it, especially in just the space of half an hour. But if you understand why it's so difficult to introduce, then I think you kind of get an idea of where he's coming from. Just to use one image. Imagine opening a dictionary. Say if you don't know German, and you try to learn German just by reading the dictionary. So you try to learn one word, and then you're deferred onto other words. So you know what that word means, you've got the definitions. Then you go to these other words. But then you moved on to other words as well. And then you're just going round and round, and you never actually get anywhere. If you can keep that image in your head, about Jacques Derrida, what he's going at and what his concerns are, about the problems with understanding a structure or a linguistic structure, which doesn't seem to have any origin, which doesn't seem to have any point where it starts, nor does it seem to have any ground where you can come to any meaning to it, then you're probably not halfway there to understand his work, but you've got a base to build up upon. That's the thing. Another thing about him is that finding a base for Jacques Derrida and where he wants to start from is also very, very tricky. He doesn't offer any easy definitions of any of the concepts that he uses. He's quite infamous for saying things which kind of going quite a lot of slack as well, like he once said, America is deconstruction. Or he once, when Heidegger and Paul de Man, when it came out that they were card-carrying Nazis during the late 30s and 40s, he'd deconstruct their work and show, well, actually they weren't Nazis. And so he's, you know, he gets quite a little bit of flack for that. One of the New York Times to his death, their obituary said about him, obscure French intellectual dies, and that was it. And then so it's a bit harsh. But I think if we go along, there's actually quite a lot of substance to his work, and it's quite profound. It's quite difficult, but the more you read it, the more you'll get out of it. And also, it's not that difficult. So the way I'm going to do this is, I've got some lists of his texts. I'm going to show them to you. They're heavily paraphrased, because that loads of crap. And I hope in this way to draw some sort of line or structure which easily shows you his work. Starts with some simple definitions, and then once you get a better understanding of his work, we'll drop those definitions. So he's writing in the 60s, in particular when he releases his first few books, which are the ones we're going to look at, which are Speech and Phenomena, which is a series of essays on the phenomenologist Edmund Husserl, of Grammatology, which is to do with the science of writing, which generally explodes the science of everything, in his opinion. And then a series of essays which he wrote, which I'll not look at so much, because it was just written between his time, which is Writing a Difference. If you want to be introduced to his work, he's got about 80, 60 books, there's just told here, there's 60 in English. He's got 80 published books in total. It's best to start with those three. I've only read those three, so that'll do. So, I say, he doesn't really, it's very, very hard to start with him. You don't know really where to start. He's coming in the 60s from in a period which is just after two main strands of French intellectual thought. One is phenomenology and the other is structuralism. Now, people think about Derrida, that he's post-structuralist, and you come across terms like deconstruction, that he's mainly concerned with structuralism and debunking that. Well, first of all, he's not after debunking anything, he's just showing their limitations, and second of all, he's got an equal lineage from phenomenology, which I also want to show. Now, to just give simple definitions and over-simple definitions of these two things, phenomenology and structuralism. Phenomenology is subject-centred. If you think of characters, have you ever heard of Jean-Paul Sartre, Edmund Husserl, Martin Heidegger? They take the subject as where to start from in building their philosophical system. So the phenomenological experiences or experience of phenomena, or just things in the world, is things you can be sure of and things we can build some sort of system of knowledge from there. The structuralists are not subject-centred, they're more looking at these structures which determine the subject. So in particular, linguistic structures, the linguistic structures of the mind, which generally form your ideas about things. You think of characters like Ferdinand Sir, Levi Strauss, who took a look at the way language determined or created the cultures of indigenous societies, or characters like Marxist structuralists like Louis Althusser, who famously said something along the lines of ideology, the ideological structure interpolates the subject even before he is born, or brings that subject into being even before he is born. You with me so far? I see a few nods. I'll keep with that. So we'll, as we go along, it might clarify a bit more. So an easy way to understand Derrida's project, I've pulled out this quote from Writing Indifference, which is quite good because it's from his own words and I don't really need to say it. He says the structure of the history of Western philosophy is the determination of being as present. That's the important part, which you should probably take with you from this, in all senses of this word. It would be possible to show that all the terms related to fundamentals, principles, or to the centre have always designated the constant of a presence, essence, existence, substance, subject. I've just added those words in, put some Greek words. Transcendentiality, consciousness, conscience, God, man, and so forth. So yeah, what are we going to make of that? Well, what he's saying there basically is that the whole system of philosophy before him has gone on one presupposition, which has gone unnoticed. Just one unconscious idea which people have, which people have never questioned, and that is that being, existence, what you think is there, is something which is present,